In other news, the Northwest Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has achieved a historic milestone after receiving its first ever clean audit since the dawn of democracy. The Auditor-General awarded the department an unqualified audit opinion with no findings for the 2024-25 financial year, marking a significant achievement in financial governance and accountability. This also extends the department's streak of 6 consecutive unqualified audit opinions since the 2019-2020 financial year. Let's speak more about this with the head of department for cooperative governance in the province, Dr. Ben Bole, joins us now via our video link. Great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks indeed for your time and your patience. We're honing in on this because traditionally the Northwest is seen as being home to some of the worst performing municipalities and by extension departments. What do you reckon has set you apart?
No, look, let me first and foremost appreciate this opportunity. Also indicate up front that it was never an easy exercise and it will never be easy. And it's not going to be easy because when the AGSA is on site, it means business. So we are thankful that we managed to respond to all the matters that AGSA has raised in the past. So this outcome is the product of commitment and hard work. And that's why it's also sent a strong message to our municipalities across the province that we lead by example as COGTA, which of course the department that is responsible to make sure that our municipalities in the province do respond to their constitutional mandate in terms of Section 152 of our Constitution.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to find out what you reckon makes the difference. I mean, does it come down to the personnel that you have? Is it a matter of standard operating procedures? In other words, does this come down to whether people are being honest, or is the issue to do with their structure of how things are run, typically at a municipal level, that sees so many of the departments in your province struggle to get this right?
No, look, we must appreciate that our executive authority, being the MEC, for the past 3 years, he has set the right tone and he has set the right vision, and ourselves as the entire management of COGTA, of course, including the all staff of COGTA family, we had to develop a mission, to achieve the tone set by our executive authority, and we were successful in that. Because first and foremost, we had to deal with the basic first in the department and instill the culture of excellence in the department. And of course, we had to also tighten some controls that the AGSA for a number of years has actually raised. And we had to work on those particular controls with a firm commitment of our management and the entire staff. In other words, we had to get the basic right, first and foremost. And secondly, we then had to deal with the complex matters that the AGSA has raised a number of years that we had to deal with. So it took a lot of commitment from our colleagues to be where we are. And as I said, also it has brought courage. And we know we still have a long way to go. We can't drop the ball because in 6 months' time, the AGSA will be back. And therefore, it's important that we need to sustain this achievement. But at the same time, it has given us the courage also to intensify our support to our municipalities in the Northwest. Speak
to us a bit more about some of these complex issues that the AG had asked you to work on.
You say there was a historical irregular expenditure that we found in the department. It's the historical. And the consolidated figure of that irregular expenditure, it was around more than 500 million. So we had to work very hard to clear that particular irregular expenditure. And I must also emphasize that it was not an easy exercise because when you deal with the irregular expenditure of the prior years, you must deal with it informed by the National Treasury framework that you must follow to clear that particular irregular expenditure. And once we were done with that, we had to then take a report to our provincial treasury for a quality assurance. And for us, it was not an easy exercise. It was a difficult and a complex exercise. And secondly, we had to deal with the issue of consequence management and demonstrate in practical terms to the AG the extent in which what is it that we have done as a department to deal with the issue of irregular consequence management for those officials who, of course, committed those irregular expenditure. So it took a lot of hard work and commitment and consistency that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
And at the end, it became very clear that one, provincial treasury satisfied itself that we have followed the national treasury framework, and two, Auditor-General also came, yes, looked into that, and then they satisfied themselves that indeed we followed all the necessary processes that we needed to follow to clean to clear this. That's why they've given us the clear bill at the moment.
And I suppose that's also part of what makes the difference, right? Whether or not there'll be any kind of accountability for people who knowingly flout these regulations. Speak to us about what that accountability has looked like for your department. I mean, were people fired? Is that where it ends? Is there an expectation for, in instances where money has been taken, for that money to be repaid?
No, look, and I think it's a very important element that I must clarify. And then you understand the measures that we have taken, because people, they may say we're lenient and so on. One is that when we dealt with the irregular expenditure, remember, at the heart of this, there must be value for money, okay? So in all this, majority of the cases, what we have found is that indeed the service were provided for, but the big issue was around following the supply chain management processes, and if you like, 217 of our constitution. So that was the big issue for us. And once you compromise following the procurement processes, and then going forward, if you continue to spend, if you did not follow that, then that particular expenditure then will be classified as an irregular expenditure. But what became very clear to our side, from our side, is that even if the money was spent without even following that procurement process, we had to satisfy ourselves that those goods and services were delivered. And that's why the majority of officials who, of course, were implicated in that, we had to issue out with the final written warnings and to caution them that we are not going to allow going forward with this particular conduct. And of course, other officials in the process, they left the department, and others, unfortunately, they passed on. But the point I'm making here is that that bulk of irregular expenditure, we could, satisfy ourselves, and we came to a conclusion that indeed the goods and services were provided. But the big issue was the contracting part of it. That was the big issue that actually made all these processes irregular. And that is why we had to follow those necessary treasury framework. And of course, we had to also establish a regular expenditure committee in the department that we gave them clear terms of reference to go out and work on this particular matters. And this is the work that we've been dealing with for the past 3 years. It was never an easy exercise.
I can imagine, and hopefully many lessons have been learned along the way. As Madibas once said, once you summit one mountain, you realize that there are many others to climb. Long may this continue, as they say. Really appreciate the time. That is the head of department at the Northwest Cooperative Governance Department, receiving their first ever clean audit. Really do appreciate the time with Dr. Ben Bole. Once again, thanks very much indeed.